Down below, Sydney Harbour, Boxing Day, 1960. The excited crisscross pattern made by the wakes of hundreds of pleasure craft means only one thing. A racing fleet is once again bound for Hobart. Prime Minister Menzies raises the starting gun. Seconds tick by. On 32 yachts, strong brown arms haul in dozens of sails to catch the light nor'easter. And they're off. The giant schooner Astor, biggest of them all, has everything drawing as she leans to the breeze and surges forward. The Sydney sloop Janzoon is close to her as the racing yachts stretch out across the harbour in a graceful line. On the foreshores, and even here, high above, everyone is wondering who will have the honour of leading the fleet out to sea. On Karawa 4, the crew is confident. She's out in front and sailing well in the light conditions. And she's well clear of her nearest rivals, Astor and Solo. Perhaps this will be the pattern of the race to come, but yachtsmen wouldn't bet on it, not with the record number of yachts racing this time, and 600 miles of capricious ocean yet to cover. But watchers on South Head faintly hear a strange sound. From Karawa's deck, owner John Livingston plays a victory skirl on the pipes. They hear it too on England's Zarabanda, and the racing fleet picks up the challenge as it turns south for Hobart. The leaders are lifting now to the gentle swell of the open sea. With a host of sightseers beginning to drop astern, it'll be up to the Caltex relay ship Laureano from now on to send back reports of the yacht's positions during the race. There's the little sloop Cyandra, winner of the race in 1958, just scraping past South Head rocks astern of the Winston Churchill, who's trying especially hard this time. A final cheer, and Sydney slips astern. Rarely has a Hobart race started in such ideal conditions. Calm seas and a fair wind as they head down the coast into the ocean haze. There's just time to see Karawa break out her spinnaker, which brings a sparkling wave under her bow. Maybe the bagpipes are a help. Off Wollongong, the breeze is so light it hardly fills the 3,000 feet of nylon Astor has aloft. Perhaps we can forget the record books this time, but that doesn't mean an easy race. On board Karawa, still holding her lead, wily sailing master Jock Muir has to make a decision. Will they stay close to shore or head out to sea in the hope of finding stronger winds? Karawa is sailing well, and with the breeze astern, she'll stay on her present course. Is it the right decision? Other skippers give orders to head seawards, and the 32 racing yachts stand out over miles of ocean, a battle of tactics beginning. It's only on board Laureano at the first radio schedule that their moves can be followed.
Laureano, this is below high road. Clear, over. What's in target, Laureano, this is below high. Our position, 3718 15021.
In the cabin of the relay ship, radio operator Bert Oliver hears skipper Nev McAnally give the present position of the Sydney sloop Malahide, while cruising Yacht Club Commodore Mac Brown and Laureano's owner-skipper Jim Sampson plot the position on the map along with those of the other yachts. This is all part of the safety precautions taken on this ocean race, at the same time keeping those ashore informed of its progress. All the Hobart yachts must carry radio for emergencies. But if anyone is in distress, it's only over the lack of wind. This time 2 years ago, Southerly, sailing gently here, had been battered into submission by a storm, making her head for the shelter of Bermagui with a weary crew and water pouring into her damaged hull. Yes, the sea can be fickle, but don't be mistaken. This sort of sailing is just as hard on the boats as on the nerves. While the sea is scanned for other competitors, chafed lines and sails must be repaired. High aloft, all rigging must be checked for damage caused by the constantly wearing motion of the waves. But in the calm weather, the fleet sails south. Solo is sailing well. Hard-driving skipper Vic Meyer, who took line honors last year and won the race back in 1956, would prefer to see the barometer fall, and Solo's big steel bow sliced through rough waves with the weather worsening. But this is the luck of the race. And a tuna clipper out from Eden is to take back a different, specially packed in a waterproof container. Films for Australia's TV stations are tossed aboard. She's to head for port with the news that Karawa, Astor, and Solo hold the lead. But what about our China? The 52-foot ketch is a big sail carrier, and several miles further out to sea, she's picked up a brisk following breeze that has her spinning along, every sail filled. A mistaken position, possibly a slight navigation error, places her in the lead as radio reports come in again. She later corrects that she's not far behind the leaders. Just how long will this weather last? Masts stand steady, although they're carrying every stitch of sail that can be crammed on them. Bowsprits and decks are still dry, and the salt spray hasn't even tarnished the brightwork yet. And all the time, the miles are slipping by. Aboard the other yachts, the story's the same. The boys on Thurlow make sure we recognize them. While below our spotting plane now, there's Lasso Luss, running nicely before the breeze. On her 6th racing trip to Hobart, she's got the distinction of having the only girl in the race in her crew. You can bet they're trying to tell her how tough this race can really be. Skipper Ron Hobson and his crew aboard the Joanne Brodie know the race is still far from over. Their Seabird-class yacht can do well in any conditions, but they'd like to see it harder. A friendly flash of light through the dusk means Gabor Island is passing to starboard, and the fleet is heading out into the darkness of Bass Strait. If the weather's going to turn, this is where it will happen. The yachtsman can hardly believe it. Sunrise brings another perfect day, as Bass Strait belies its reputation and leaves Adelaide's blue-hulled southern myth little more than becalmed. Anxious crews are asking, where is the wind? And wondering if anyone else is getting it. Land ho! Yes, the mist-shrouded cliffs mean a perfect landfall for the leaders and promise tricky sailing down the rugged coastline. It's from here on that more races have been lost than won. Can the big yachts possibly hold their positions? At least they can't be any worse off than rival. What? No one for breakfast? Aboard the ketch Meetang, the crew sit tensely on deck, waiting to make sail changes, making sure that not a breath of wind is wasted. The race is in its final stages now. Karawa and Astor are still up ahead somewhere. Yes, they've made another spectacular landfall near the mouth of the Derwent River. In front, Karawa has crossed a storm bay that isn't stormy and makes a fine sight as she sails up to take line honors for her 8th time in the 16 Hobart races. On board, John Livingston is certainly looking for his bagpipes again as Karawa's giant spinnaker is taken down after being aloft for as long as 17 hours at a time. Only to be expected, her time is some 14 hours slower than the record she holds. But Hobart folk have a soft spot in their hearts for the big yacht, and they're pleased to see her come home first under any conditions. She gets a big welcome. The drawbridge lifts, and Karawa is first to tie up in Constitution Dock. Overnight, Solo, Astor, and Nola are to slip in astern of her, and morning sees our China sailing up the Derwent in misty rain, heralding the weather change which might have made all the difference to the race. Excitement is mounting as Loriana comes in with the news that any of several yachts can still win the race on handicap. Radio reports have pinpointed at least 6 craft at the entrance to Storm Bay, but the incoming mist and rain is shrouding them from planes which might provide the answer. Meetang arrives, but she hasn't been able to beat her handicap in the conditions. It's going to be one of the smaller yachts, that's for sure. Excitedly, Solo skipper Vic Meyer shouts the news. Yes, the winner's coming in, and it's Iandra. Although her crew are pleased as cheers echo around the waterfront, they show signs of the strain of the tense hours spent almost praying for a breeze to carry them home to the victory continued calms could so easily have snatched away. The 36-foot sloop has done something never before achieved, and full honors must go to Sydney skipper Graham Newland for winning the Ocean Classic a second time. In the quiet haven of Constitution Dock, this race will be resailed many times over. But one thing is certain. When they set out again, yachtsmen will know they've had more than their share of fair weather in the race to Hobart.